Michael told me that you actually wrote a draft of the film. Did you not take a writing credit as a courtesy?
No, I would have loved one, but those things are decided by the Writers Guild. I don't know what they use as judgment, but they are very suspicious, and rightly so, of directors who put their names on as writers as well, because the normal amount that I do on a script I wouldn't think of asking for a credit for. And but the writer may have written, the battle happens and the North wins. And then the director, because he'll stage the battle, which will take him a week to shoot, and he'll ask for a writing credit for that. And I don't think he should get it.
It's fabulous.
Why did you go after Marisa Tomei for Tina?
She's, first of all, I fell in love with her and my cousin Vinny, and it hasn't abated a bit. Superb actress. I mean, when I met her after my cousin Vinny, I couldn't believe it, because I thought she was that. Every once in a while you see a performance and you say, well, the director went out and got a non-professional. And I thought that was true of Marissa, and that I thought it was true of Tim Robbins. What was that picture? The baseball player with Susan Sarandon. Bull Durham. And I thought, my God, they went out and got themselves a real cracker. So I loved her work from that, and some subsequent work. And also, and this is very important for a picture like this, if you know my pictures, I don't do sex scenes. I don't do sex scenes because I don't believe them. And only one picture I ever believed it, and there was a reason I believed it. Not of mine, but I knew I was going to have it in that opening scene. And it was very important that that both actors be relaxed about it. Because if they weren't, then it'd be like any other sex scene, the ones I don't believe. And I knew that Marissa just is totally uninhibited. She's not an exhibitionist by any means, but it's just another part of acting for her. And I'm sure that Philip is not used to it, because he is not the conventional leading man. And when we were blocking, after we'd finished, this is during rehearsal, after we finished 3 days around the table talking and so on, then we get up on our feet. We start to stage it just like you would in the theater. And so that's the first scene, the first one we get to, and there's a set laid out on the floor and a bed. And Marissa, so she hops onto the bed, because I wrote out the description very carefully, because there are instances of actors saying, oh, I didn't know I was going to have to get undressed. And by union regulations, you cannot make them. So I wrote it out in great detail so that they couldn't say they didn't know. And so Marissa hops onto the bed, gets up on her knees and on her elbows and slaps her ass and says, let's go, Phil. That was so great, because it not only put it in its proper place, which is this part of the movie, part of a performance, but for Philip, that must have been such a release, such a relief, that it wasn't, that there was nothing competitive or what have you. And
took all the stress out of it.
Absolutely, I was thrilled with it.
Do you enjoy having that challenge of somebody you might not like as a person, but then you have to get into their skin?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I prefer her to some of the more saccharine things that have come my way, to tell you the truth. So that's usually the biggest challenge, is kind of those cutie pies, and they kind of repulse me.
It's more fun to play the bad girl, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Usually.
Yeah. Can you see yourself doing that in real life?
Which? I've already commented on that.
Yeah, that's true. What I want to ask you, And you ever worked with Phil before?
No, we had never worked together before. We'd
Did you-
also known each other from New York, from Williamstown, from places, but we never worked. He just kind of sets the table. I mean, he likes us to be together. We didn't do like things like go to dinner or screen movies or anything, but we had the rehearsal time, and that's 2 weeks. I mean, I told you that I was going back and forth, so that was kind of a drag, but still, it's 2 weeks in a room together, and you just get to hang out. That's usually a lot of work gets done that way. So that's nice how he brought that aspect of his theater stuff into his filmmaking. And so I think that we all just fell into an ease with that because we were used to being in rehearsal rooms. We like rehearsal rooms. I don't smoke, but I always go and smoke with them anyway, or like hang out with them, because I know that's when most of like the good conversation happens and like the good like relationship building. The bonding. If I'm not there, I'm gonna miss it. So I go down and like occasionally have a puff or whatever.
It's a good thing they don't do drugs.
That's true.
That would be a problem. You know that you were the first chosen, right? I was talking to Michael Sorenzi last night. He said you were his first choice. And when he sat down with Sidney Lumet and they looked at the script, you were his first choice. Were you aware of that?
Well, I know that Sidney came to me. I was approached with I had been approached with this script through another director a few years before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that just didn't happen. That director didn't do it. I didn't do it. It was somewhat of a different script. And then came back to me with Sidney, and Sidney changed it a little bit, but not a lot. It's still very much the script that I read.
He made you the brother, if I'm not correct, instead of the friend. Originally,
Yeah, they were
best
friends. They were friends and now they're brothers, which is very important. And then he let me, Sidney said, "Which brother do you want to play?" And I chose Andy, and then everyone else kind of came on board.
Can you tell me about something in your career that you consider to be a turning point for you? Something maybe synchronicitous that came out of nowhere? A lucky break or something that took your life in a different direction?
I've had a lot of breaks, gratefully. A lot of people have given me breaks, I got Son of a Woman when I was 24, and I remember getting that and auditioning like 6 times for it. And getting it. I remember that moment, I remember working with Paul Thomas Anderson for the first time. I remember Joel Schumacher hiring me to play opposite Robert De Niro in Flawless when I was, not even 30. And I mean, those were all huge breaks. I remember doing True West on Broadway. I remember getting that opportunity. I mean, these are opportunities that came along, and thank God I said yes to them. And that's all the difference, is that you actually say yes to the opportunities.
Or was
that come
there a
your way.
question at the time that you might not
Well,
have
it's a lot of fear, everyone's responsibility.
Do you have any desire to do comedy?
Yeah, I think I do. I think I do comedy all the time. I just don't do like not try not, but I just haven't ended up in a lot of like just comedies. I think there's a lot of comedy in a lot of things. You find it by accident and stuff. But I like Long Kim Polly and those things. I do. It was a lot of fun, actually. That film.
Good. You were on your long day's journey in tonight's
Yes,
show
I am.
for
I'm
Sidney.
interested in you.
How are you? Good to see you.
Good to see you
Long
too.
time
bro.
no see.
Yeah, I know, it's been a while.
Hey,
Ethan.
Hi, nice meeting you.
Pleased to meet you.
Hello.
When you first got the script, were you brothers or best friends? Because Michael Sorenzi told me that originally it was written for two
but
best
Sidney
friends,
changed
but
that.
Sidney changed it to brothers.
Yeah, because Sidney turned it into a Greek tragedy. That was Sidney's idea. Like, this would work. And that's where his knowledge about he's got a lot of knowledge about the history of storytelling.
Melodrama was what he wanted to call it.
Yeah, exactly.
He fought to call it a melodrama.
He didn't know that expression has been outdated for like 35 years.
1810.
Yeah. Nobody calls anything a melodrama anymore. That genre doesn't exist anymore.
Exactly.
People think that means soap opera.
Yeah.
So, Philip is the first one of my generation to get really good. That's how I kind of feel. I mean, we all came to New York like, I think that Phil is really good, and it's fun to work with somebody, a peer. I mean, he used to, when we would audition for things, he would be my reader. I mean,
I was running I started Malapart, he started Lab, and we were all spinning around. We both did that because we couldn't get jobs at Naked Angels, which Marissa was a member of, and so it's like, but I remember going, when I saw, it's Capote or whatever, I was like, wow, man, so he's really on now, so it's on. And it was on this movie. He's good. And he does his homework, and what's fun, same thing with Denzel too, but difference is Phil and I are the same age, is that if somebody's really on point, if somebody's always at practice 10 minutes before you are, if somebody's always worked on stuff, then what happens is you show up early. So-and-so starts to show up early. Mm-hmm. They do their homework. It's a good, in the same way you often hear about it with negative stuff, with people being cavalier about their work. And it's insidious too. It destroys the work ethic.
You've had a very illustrious career. Can you think of something in your career that was a turning point for you? Something maybe that came out of nowhere that took your career or life in a different direction?
There's a couple things that have been pivotal. One is that, this is the kind of thing people don't, is the movie Tape. Tape was this weird little movie I did with Richard Linklater, and I felt like I became an adult actor on that job. It's a kind of funny thing, but I collaborated with Rick a bunch at that point, and I think something shifted. Yeah, I would say the first thing would be Dead Poets Society. Yeah, that changed my life. And then somewhere around Tape, I took some shift. I made some shift I finally figured out how not to be a kid actor, like mentally.